So today we're going to my top 10 3 3/4 inch clone trooper figures. So let's check them out. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of shorts here lately, if you haven't noticed, and those shorts have gotten pretty good bit of views and everything, and I've actually earned quite a few more subscribers too from that. So yeah, appreciate y'all all subscribing and everything, and so that really helps out a lot. So today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video. I'm not going to do a standard review. I'm actually going to do my top 10 3 3/4 inch clone trooper figures, because I have quite a few here, and examples here to show you, and some of these were from my childhood too, so that's why some of them are a little beat up, but so let's get into number 10. Okay, so in the number 10 spot, I have the original Vintage Collection 501st Clone Trooper. Now, it's this figure, sculpt wise and paint wise, ain't actually bad. The problem with this figure I don't like is the head sculpt. Now, on the newer figures, they've fixed this problem, but these older ones here, as you can see, have a very undersized head sculpt. It doesn't look like it's more and more. It actually looks more like that one random clone in Attack of the Clones. I think it's Lunch. I think is what they've kind of based this off of. But as you see, the head is too small for the helmet. See, the helmet looks really big on the head. Now, like I said, they still kind of look big on the head, but the newer clones that use this body mold, they fix that. So that's I'm glad they did. So I might, if I get some more of those, I'll do some reviews on those too. But so this one's why this one is at the number 10 place. Okay, so the number 9 spot, and some of you may not agree with me here, but I put the Rebels, Captain Rex, and for that reason, it's just because it lacks an articulation. That's the only bad thing I could find about this figure. But other than that, I do actually like this figure. It's one of my probably one of my favorite clone figures. I just put it in the number 9 spot because of its lacking articulation. But other than that, like I said, pretty cool figure. Pretty iconic for Rebels, I guess. A lot of the Rebels figures use that 5 POA, so that's why this figure's like that. They haven't made a good articulated version of this figure either, and I wish they would. They could make a vintage collection version of this one. They could, it won a Black Series, but they have done other Black Series Rexes and vintage collection, but they haven't tackled this one yet. So that'd be nice if they would. I forgot to mention earlier when I did Captain Rex that he does have a removable helmet, the Rebels version. So you have the bearded Captain Rex and everything. So got Phase 2 helmet and everything. So I forgot that to mention that during that part. Okay, so next up in number 8 is the Coruscant Shock Trooper. I think is what this one's called. You've seen these in Revenge of the Sith towards the end of the movie, and they also made a lot of appearances in Clone Wars. But this figure came out in the Saga collection, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's Saga collection, because this figure, you look on the back there, it uses the antenna mold. I don't know if this figure came with an antenna. Some of them did, some of them didn't. This one may have. I don't know. A lot of times those antennas are very expensive too when you find it, because them antennas are little and they're very easily lost. So I guess I can't remember if this one had one or not, but the hole is back there. So pretty good figure. Pretty decent articulation. The Starter collection had pretty good articulation. I think this mold was reused a lot of times. Seems like I think they used it, for the Covert Ops clone, which I do want to get that figure. I think I'm going to try to track one of those down, because that is actually a pretty cool looking clone. And the packaging of this line is very iconic too. So that's number 8. Number 7 is Clone Trooper Alpha, which was originally what Captain Rex's name is supposed to be, but they changed it because Anakin, Ahsoka, and Alpha would be too many A's. But which I don't know if this one's supposed to be concept Captain Rex or not. I'm not 100% sure, but this figure came out in a 2-pack with Obi-Wan, which I also have, and that's not the blaster he came with. The one he came with, I don't know where it's at. I couldn't find it, so that's why he's holding that one. But this figure is pretty good. This was a thing I got in my childhood, and I really do enjoy it. He's got a removable helmet, which is always a nice touch. If I can get off there. So you see, got a removable helmet, so that's always a nice touch. He's got a scar on the side of his face. Pretty good head sculpt. This is a Phase 1 helmet as well. So now this thing right here just wants to pop off his arm a lot. I'm not sure what that is, but that's very annoying. That wants to continually pop off his arm. That's a nitpick I have with this figure, which mine could just be stretched out. That maybe that's why it's doing that. But because this figure did get played with quite a lot. So that's number 7. So in the number 6 spot is the Phase 1 Clone Trooper from the Saga collection, I believe. Now this figure is actually a pretty good figure, good articulation. It doesn't have a movable helmet. That's one thing I always like removable helmets on the clones. But but other than that, though, this was a pretty good figure, and as you can tell, he's been quite played with as well. He's pretty dirty, needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but so pretty good figure. This is the way they appear to attack the clone here at the end. So they haven't really differentiated in personality stuff. Yes, that's why they're all still kind of the same. Everything. It's a pretty iconic look. The fin on the helmet too is supposed to be like a communication device. I think that's why it's there. Well, that's what I've heard before. So that's my number 6 pick. My number 5 spot here is the Phase 3 Clone Trooper from the Revenge of the Sith, which just came out in the Vintage Collection, I believe. And which I think I know it did because I saw the card back somewhere. But this is a pretty good figure, and I liked it as well. This one basically the only difference really, as I guess, is the head and the helmet. Which this figure, unlike the Phase 1 clone, does have a removable helmet, so that it's always a nice touch, like I said. So you remove the helmet there, you can see the okay Temuera Morrison head sculpt. I mean, it's not as good as nowadays, but still was okay for back then. Like I said, I always like removable helmets. I always thought they were neat. But so that's pretty cool. That's the same helmet mold too as the this figure was the topple. There we go. So that's the same helmet sculpt as my number 10 pick, the same exact helmet as you can see. And just that head, it fits better because it's bored. It fills the helmet out more, unlike this other one. So that's my number 5 pick. And my number 4 pick is the Clone Wars Commander Gree, which I think I also got brand new back when it came out. I think I remember getting it at Walmart, I believe. But one thing I always like about Commander Gree, I like his color scheme though, because green is one of my favorite colors. So that's one thing I like about Commander Gree. And Commander Gree also was in Clone Wars. He had pretty different armor style though. Or, it was colored completely different. Had camouflage stuff on Revenge of the Sith. But this is just early on Clone Wars. Look where he still had the Phase 1 armor and everything. And Gree was also going to when he execute Order 66 by killing Yoda, but Yoda was a step ahead and decapitated him along with another clone trooper. But now this figure also has a removable helmet, so you can remove his helmet and see Gree's head sculpt there. It's got the 2 mohawks, which was something established in the Clone Wars. The older Gree figure from the Saga Collection didn't have this because that was before Clone Wars established that he had the 2 mohawks. There were some other characters that had the same 2 mohawks like Gree. But I usually display him with the helmet because I like him better with his helmet on. But gotta get him balanced there. So there is my number 4 pick, Commander Gree. For my number 3 pick is the Clone Wars Commander Cody in his Phase 1 armor. Now, I also got this figure brand new. I think at Walmart up in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I think is where I got this, somewhere up there. But so Cody's also one of my favorite clone commanders. And Cody's also a iconic one too. He executed Order 66. Against Obi-Wan. So Cody was always kind of more of an more iconic commanders. And this figure doesn't disappoint either. This figure, like Gree, also has a removable helmet. You can see Cody's head sculpt, but he's got a different haircut, obviously. And he's also got the signature scar, which is really cool. They did make the Phase 2 Cody in the Clone Wars version, which I don't have. And one of the very few Phase 2 clones actually had a removable helmet in that line, too. So, unfortunately, I don't have that figure, but I do have Phase 1. So, as you can see, pretty cool. Pretty good likeness to the way he looked in the show. Like I said, I always put him with helmet on because, helps kind of complete the look. But, still pretty good figure. So, that's my number 3 pick. So, for my number 2 pick is the Revenge of the Sith Vintage Collection / Saga Collection Commander Cody from Revenge of the Sith. Which I think, I said, Vintage / Saga Collection because I think it's the same exact figure, just re-released. But I can't remember if this one I got was Vintage Collection or Saga Collection. I don't have the packaging anymore, so I can't remember which one this actually was. But I do have his jetpack too, but it's missing right now because I misplaced it. But so I put this one on number 2 because I do really like this figure. No, I did say I didn't have Phase 2, which was the Clone Wars. They made the Clone Wars version, like I said, in Phase 2. I don't have the Clone Wars line figure, but I do have this one. And this is the way he appeared in Revenge of the Sith. When he executed, Order 66 against Obi-Wan. He also came with a hologram of the Emperor, which is pretty cool. This figure also has a removable helmet, so you can remove his helmet like he did in the movie when he gave Obi-Wan back his lightsaber. He's got a scar there. His hair kind of fades from gray to black, which the Clone Wars figure does not, which I don't think it did in the Clone Wars, so that's probably why they've done that. So pretty cool. A lot of good details on this figure. So that's why he's in my number 2 spot. Okay, before I go into my number 1 pick, here's 2 honorable mentions. I have I think the 212th Airborne Trooper there, and also the Clone Wars Captain Rex, which you may be wondering why I put him in honorable mentions. And that's because, because I do like Captain Rex, but this figure is incomplete. I can't really do a good review on it because I'm missing parts. That pauldron is the wrong pauldron. That's a extra Stormtrooper pauldron that I had that came off another Stormtrooper I had that I didn't use, and so I stuck it on him to kind of help, kind of make it look complete. And that Airborne Trooper is really cool. Unfortunately, I'm missing his hand. That's one problem. And if that one, the helmet doesn't quite cover up his chin. That's really annoying. But so both of these have removable helmets, so I can show you Commander Cody, Captain Rex. I mean, my bad. You see, he's got the blonde hair and everything. His is kind of loose on his head too. And the Airborne Trooper, you move his. See, his chin hangs out. That's one thing. He's got the same head sculpt as the other clone, I believe, and everything. So pretty cool. That Airborne helmets are really cool. They reuse these for the Purge Troopers too, which why they reuse those, I don't know why they use those helmets for the Purge Troopers. And since they done a Purge Trooper, Imperial Purge Trooper in the Black Series line, so I don't know why, since same helmet mold and everything, I don't know why they don't make an Airborne Trooper in the Black Series line. I mean, they have the mold for it. Why not make one of these Airborne Troopers too? That'd be cool. But so that's 2 honorable mentions that I had. So my number 1 pick is Commander Wolffe, which Clone Commander Wolffe is my favorite Clone Commander. That's one reason why he got the number 1 spot. And I really do like this figure. Now it is lacking some articulation where it could have better articulation, like in his waist, and he's like in the hips and everything. But I think this be the same mold as Commander Fox, I believe. I think is what it was. But like I said, this is still a pretty good figure, and I really like it. Now they did make this one in Black Series too. I don't have that one because it's kind of expensive. Same reason with Rex. But now they did make also Wolffe in Clone Wars in Phase 1 and Phase 2, which I don't have either of those. That Phase 2 figure didn't have a removable helmet either. So that's something they really liked on. This figure obviously fixes that problem because I did review on this figure, so you can remove his helmet there. As you see, really good to more. Okay, so we had a little bit of technical difficulties there in my camera quit recording, but so you can see he's got a pretty good Temuera Morrison likeness. There, he's got the scar down his eye, which is a signature for Wolffe. A little bit of paint wear on the hair because the helmet. But from looking from afar, you're not gonna really notice that. But when you're right up on it, you're gonna see little paint wears and things like that. But it's pretty cool head sculpt and everything. Could have a little bit better neck articulation, but but still really cool. Helmet looks really good on there and everything. His chest looks like it's kind of turned color a little bit. But that's normal. They're gonna fade sometimes. A lot of white figures are bad to do that. They'll fade yellow. I have a Storm Shadow, a 12-inch Storm Shadow figure that's faded yellow over the years. But so that's my number 1 pick. So that's my top 10 clone troopers from 3 3/4 inch scale. And so if you have a different opinion, someone thinks some are better, you can feel free to comment and let me know which ones you think are better and everything. We're all entitled to our opinions, so you may think differently than me, so that's fine. I'm just giving you my opinion here on which ones I like better myself. So if you want to see some more of these, give me a thumbs up. That helped me a lot, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till next time.